the our end of the deal.
Oh, the sweet sounds of the Jerry Cherry Band. Our boy Jerry Cherry there singing us in. Well, I'm back. I was gone last week. I got to thank Tony Defeo and Shannon White and Kyle Kreis for holding down the fort. I'm mad at them. The reason I'm mad at them, I heard they were much better than when I'm here. So, with that being said, it's like, guys, come on. You can't be great and make me look bad.
Oh, if they say the standard is the standard, so we had to uphold the standard.
So
Shannon insisted on it. I blame him.
There you go, Shannon. What's going on? I hear some. You're having storms in West Virginia, right?
Yeah, it was super hot this past weekend, and so you kind of knew it was coming. But now there's a cold front. We're supposed to get rained on and storms all week, but at least it's only going to be in the 70s, so that ain't bad.
All right. So if you freeze, you're not pondering the significance of something. It is Mother Nature trying to join our podcast. Tony D, what's going on, my man?
Well, we had Shannon's Shannon's rain on Saturday, and my sister was without power for like a day and a half. So, I guess we're through it now. Shannon has to go through it, and then we'll all be good.
Yeah, I mean, Maryland's looking good right now. So again, thanks so much for giving me a week off. I'd like to say it was a vacation. As a scoutmaster, it's kind of not a vacation, but it's really good to try to enrich those boys' lives and make you feel good just with the thank yous that you get. So it's pretty awesome. So although it was a working vacation, it's still pretty awesome. So I get to do that every year, and you guys take care of me. So I appreciate it. Guys, you look on the calendar, and it does not say December 24th. But to me, I kind of feel like this is one of the 3 Christmas Eves, actually about 4 Christmas Eves we get all year. The night before the draft starts, the night before the regular season starts, the actual Christmas Eve, and then the night before players report to training camp. You could throw in the night before the playoffs, but sometimes Krampus arrives and ruins that. So we don't talk about that. And you could talk about the night before the start of free agency, but sometimes there's not gifts under the tree for you that day. I mean, sometimes we're taking stuff away. This year, we got a few gifts. We got a Mitch Trubisky. We've got a Miles Jack that week, a James Daniels. We got a Mason Cole. So, that could be considered too. But Christmas Eve for me, and Dave Schofield had a discussion the other day on this, and his discussion is, when does the season start for you? Some people say the preseason, that the preseason starts and ends when you get ready for camp. Excuse me, when you get ready for the regular season, or when they leave camp. Some people says it doesn't start until September 11th this year. For me, it's when they report. What about you guys, Tony?
I think it's training camp. I think it's because then you're the team starting to prepare for the season. The stories are more organic. The news is fresh every day, and you get to hear about who's doing what and who looks good and who looks like a deer in headlights and all that stuff. So to me, that's and plus you can go and watch just about any practice. So I think the start of training camp.
I know a few of us here. Big Bro Sco is going to training camp. He's taking Kyle, not Kyle Kreis, but he's taking Kyle. I don't know if Greg Greg took a trip back east. I'm not sure if he's going to training camp. I know our good friend State of the Steelers, who's been on some different shows, Daniel J's going down. My boy, my partner in crime, KT Smith, is going with his family as well to check it out. So that's going to be really cool for those BTSCers. And if you're going to be at training camp, you can find out when they're going to be there. And you going?
August 3rd with my bodyguard Terry. So if you try to approach me, he'll get in your face and throw you down the hillside.
Oh, I know Terry. Terry's a good man. But I mean, are you that much of a diva, Tony, that you need protection?
Yeah, and after seeing the Elvis movie last week, now I need to have an entourage everywhere I go. So
wow, that's awesome. I want to hear about the Elvis movie, but we can't talk about that now. But absolutely spectacular. That's great. Shannon White, do you believe that Tony needs bodyguards?
Better be safe than sorry.
Right.
Yeah. See, there's a difference. Podcast Tony does not need bodyguards. Facebook writing Tony probably needs bodyguards. I would say.
Yeah.
But I would tell you, I would protect you.
Oh, thank you.
So there you go. So there's a lot of stuff to talk about. There's, of course, Ben Roethlisberger's not with the team, but he has made some news. We'll probably talk about that a little later on. Shannon, when does training camp start for you? Excuse me. When does the preseason start for you?
I would say the first week of training camp after they report. The dead season is kind of between when the draft's over and the start of training camp. And, the news is hard to come by. And usually it's not very impactful unless there's a trade or a late signing. So, I'm excited about tomorrow and the whispers of training camp. There's always bits of information to get out and this guy's looking great, in that first few days. And a lot of times it's a precursor of things to come. Sometimes it's meaningless, but I find that very exciting for, the unexpected, the guys who, are on the bubble, let's say. And I like to hear about those guys looking good.
Right. So I asked you the obvious question that everybody thinks the preseason starts tomorrow. There's no difference in that. But where people differ here is, when does your off season end? That's one of the questions Dave was asking. So Shannon, I'll go straight back to you. Does the off season end on September 11th when the Steelers take on the Cincinnati Bengals? Or do you feel that it ends tomorrow?
Honestly, if writing and doing these podcasts for Behind the Steel Curtain, it never ends. Because you're always having to find content and create content. So, I guess officially the off season ends tomorrow, but for us, it's a year-round thing.
All right, Tony D, how do you feel? Good answer, by the way, Shannon. That's interesting.
Oh, I thought definitely when training camp starts. That's when the off season ends for me, because again, the stories are you get more authentic stories every day. There are rumors, but not as, as far as like who they might sign and who they should sign. Those are less, and it's more about who's looking good in camp, who's looking bad in camp. So it feels more authentic, more organic, and once training camp starts.
Absolutely. So the next thing that we're going to talk about is something that we will not have a full decision on until right at the start of the NFL season. But for me, this is a big thing, and we've been doing this for a long time. We've been doing this before I showed up here at BTSC. Tony's been around for a long time at BTSC, so he knows. And so it's the Isaac Redman Award. And this is a big deal. Can you give me how this started, Tony? Do you have any insight on that?
Well, I remember when I first became acquainted with a behind the steel curtain, Isaac Redman was a god. He was an internet god, but he was a god. And of course, he had a pretty decent first year. He had that big touchdown at the end of the year against the Ravens in Baltimore on Sunday Night Football. And ever since that season, every summer, every training camp, there's a new player who wins the award, an underdog, undrafted free agent, low round draft pick, who wins the award. And there's always a bunch of candidates, and that's where it all started back in 2010.
So 2010 was the first Isaac Redman Award. I always, you know how I revere Tunch and Wolf on Steeler Nation Radio, and of course we lost Tunch last year. And they used to always do the Camp Phenom. They did something like that as well, but they used to pick different ones. Shannon, have you participated in the past couple of years? You've been around here a while too. When did you start with BTSC?
Oh, I guess my first article was right before the Patriots and Eagles Super Bowl.
Okay.
And so then, so I've always been, I love the Isaac Redman Award, and I always have a favorite, and I'll try to, influence it a little bit with my articles. And I'm already on record this year, that my early favorite is Mark Robinson.
Okay. That's, you're not wasting any time. You're just telling us.
No, I'm just, because I've just, going back and watching his film, it's got me excited about training camp, because he brings an aggressiveness, physicality, and he's instinctually aggressive, something that you really need in that middle linebacker position. So I'm not saying he's going to be a starter. Hopefully he'll make the roster, be a special teams demon, and then maybe be a starter somewhere down the road. But he's my early favorite.
All right, Shannon, I want to ask you another question, because your first article was in 2018, February of 2018, but you were around in the live chat for a long time. Not the live chat, excuse me, in the what we call chorus in the comment section. How long were you in the comment section?
Well, I've been coming since 2009. I would come, at lunch break and read the articles, and but I never commented. I never made my first comment, and I didn't become a member until my first article, because I never felt like my opinion was important enough to anybody needed to hear it, or I needed to share it. So of course now that's different, because that's part of the job. So, but I've been coming to Behind the Steel Curtain since at least 2009.
You know what? I have been around BTSC for a long time, and I can't tell you, put a finger on it, but I know 2015 is when I started. But I almost made my first comment in 2015 when Jeff took over, and I didn't like a comment, an article that he put out there. And I went to the comment section. I'm like, I've got to sign up. I don't feel like signing up. I was having a bad day anyways. I'm glad I didn't make that comment, because, here I was friends with Jeff and I didn't know it. I wasn't going to call them names and stuff. I wasn't going to get the weekly Tony assault.
Dear know-it-all.
I wasn't going to get the Justin Hartwig treatment, but I wasn't going to do that. But we look at those comments and we know who's a wang. We have 9 out of 10. They're awesome. And there's that wang every once in a while. And I know the name of my first wang. He hasn't been around for a long, long time, so I'm not going to mention his name. I don't even know. You guys might not even remember that name, but I just know my first, I almost quit after like my 6th article. I was doing some fun articles. And I don't know if you remember this. You're probably wondering, who the heck is this new guy writing articles? But I started out doing an article every single week in the off season to preview the Steelers games, but I acted like they already happened. So I was doing predictions, but I wrote an article. This was like Brandon Boykin's first year. Brandon Boykin with interception to make the score 25-18 and what have you. And I was doing all that. I was having fun with it, and oh my gosh, they hated me. They hated it just because this is stupid. Why even bother? I'm like, oh, Jeff, I'm like, I don't know if I'm cut out for this. He's like, just hold the course. Just stay the course. You've got to earn their respect. They don't know you yet.
See that I would have kept going with it. If they made him that angry, I would have just kept going and made it work, made it more comical.
No, I was spending like 17 hours on an article, and I just like I don't want to do. So we around week 5 against San Diego. They were San Diego at the time, still, and I just decided that I was done after that article because I got ripped hard on that one. And I'm kind of glad because you know what happened? I would have never had the fact that Michael Vick was starting that game. I would have never had the fact that would be Chris Boswell's first game. I never would have had that they went for a 2-point conversion or went for the score with no time left. And Le'Veon Bell would get the score for the win.
Oh, what a play.
I mean, I was right on nothing. I mean, nothing was close. It was fun articles, but nothing was close. You guys should go back in the archives around July, August 2015 and check those out. And because they're there. But man, that fell flat. But what I'm saying is the reason I'm bringing all this up is because that was my training camp. And we even do that. We started Shannon out last year in the podcast network in July. And it was his training camp. And it was one of those things. And I told Shannon, I'll tell you, I told him flat out, I'm like, we're going to see how you do. And if it works, it works. If not, we'll say thank you and part ways. And, but I liked Shannon's contribution to us right at the get-go. But I mean, he could have been a late roster cut. But he was our Isaac Redman Award winner last year. So we know Mark Robinson. Tony, who's yours?
I'm interested in seeing what Mateo Durant does because people are looking forward to, or they kind of want Benny Snell to be replaced, or at least demoted to third string. And what better player than somebody who rushed for 2,058 yards the last 2 years at Duke. I mean, I was going to say Mark Robinson too, but I mean, I knew better because that's the worst kept secret that that's Shannon's guy. So I couldn't take Mark Robinson, so I had to go with somebody else. So I'm sorry for stealing your thunder, Brian.
I love the Mateo Durant. That was on my queue. That was my guy too. So I love that answer. Look, I can't throw out George Pickens to you. I can't throw out Calvin Austin III to you. I can't throw out those guys, DeMarvin Leal, Kenny Pickett. No, they don't count, do they? Right. Because they were picked high, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
so what is it? 5th and lower?
Yeah, 5th and lower. I believe fifth. The 5th round was the cutoff, if I remember correctly. But I mean, it varies from whoever is sharing the opinion at the moment. But I believe it's a 5th round pick. Is you can't go higher than that.
Okay. Shannon, you had something to say about it?
My last 2 years, it was Ulysses Gilbert III, and then last year it was Jameer Jones. That was my favorites going in.
That was unanimous. Jameer Jones was.
Yeah, but they were my favorites going in, and they both won. So I'm 2 for 2. And I will mention that I've gotten tweet responses from Isaac Redman himself because of the articles I've written and about the people who won his award. So he does pay attention to see who wins his award.
Okay, so when you get that this year, Shannon, when you get that this year, you say to him, will you come on BTSC to announce this year's award winner?
Woo! Yes, we could do that. Yes.
I mean, even if it's already been announced, ask him to come on Get him for the hangover. No one else gets him. You do the work. You get it. It's up your show. And I think that would be super fun.
That would be, yes.
So that's what I'm asking you to do. So that's really good. Man, this is a tough one for me because I was ready to say Mateo Durant and I don't think I really had a number 2. So I'm going to go ahead and think about this because it can't be somebody that was, I don't even like doing a second-year player. You did one last year with Ulysses.
Yes, 2 years ago, yes.
And I was kind of against that. But it's not like my opinion counts. I don't care. But it would be really easy for me to say something like Connor Hayward. So I'm gonna go the linebacker route here. And I'm gonna go Tyree Johnson. I think he's tough. So I'm putting my money on Tyree. You're putting on a linebacker. There you go.
Well,
Jeffrey Benedict is sorry, real quick. Jeffrey Benedict this year might finally be Tuzar Skipper's year. Didn't Tuzar win it?
He probably did in 2020 or 2019, I should say. Yeah.
So interesting, and they're talking. Jeffrey's talking about the fact that they did cut Trey because if there is one thing we know about the Steelers roster is they have way too many running backs. So yeah, Trey Edmonds, but Trey Edmonds doesn't have 9 lives. He's 19. He deserves it. I like Trey Edmonds. Trey Edmonds brings value to them in the role that he's in. So we could go ahead and we're gonna already say that don't be surprised to see him gone. So to see him back because Trey could definitely be back. And you need guys like that. People don't understand. Some people don't understand that the 53rd man on the roster does not have to be on par with the first man on the roster.
Right.
And it's really important to have someone like that is versatile, that could also come on the practice squad, off the practice squad, get cut. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they already told him, all right, this is a formal move. We'll see you again. You know?
Right.
You know, so that's definitely a possibility. Jeffrey Benedict says, I forget Tuzar won that. Hodges came second, and that was my guy. So, yeah, I think Tuzar was the man that year. And those guys, what's significant about those two is they were both training camp, actually rookie minicamp tryouts. They won on the same day. So that's pretty cool. So we've got 3 candidates. Remember those. Do we have to mark these down, or we're going to remember all these, right?
That's pretty easy to remember.
All right.
Everybody remember mine.
Yeah. Mark Robbins is probably going to win it. So
okay, remember mine because I've got a fever right now, and I might not remember this show in a half an hour. So
Connor Hayward was yours.
It's whoever won is mine.
I think Hayward's probably he's probably the fan favorite. I know that.
Yeah, I think he is a fan favorite. And I mean, let's talk about Connor Hayward real quick. He seems like the guy that is, there's some people in a camp that will go ahead and say, Connor Hayward, he's here because of his brother. But he's not. He is, if they need to cut him, they're going to cut him. They don't care who his brother is. Mm-hmm. But they brought him in for a reason because he brings value. You don't waste any pick on something like that. Now, back in the day when they had like 17 picks before they went to 12, you could do stuff like that. I'm going to talk about the Los Angeles Dodgers. They did one, I think it was 1986. Their 55th round pick was a favor to Tommy Lasorda's buddy Vince.
I know who it is.
You know, I'll let you say it. Vincent, what was Vincent's last name?
Well, I thought you were talking about Mike Piazza.
Yeah.
Yes.
Vince's son was Mike Piazza.
Yes.
And is Piazza in the Hall of Fame?
Yes.
No, this isn't a
Is he?
baseball.
I thought he made it.
Oh, I don't know. I didn't think he was, but maybe you're right.
I think he deserves to be, but this is a football show, so I won't go into that. But when you're a 55th round pick in baseball, that's a sweetheart deal. You do that, hey, buddy Vince, I'm going to take care of your boy.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what they did. And then, I don't know how many times that guy was an all-star. I really think he will be in the Hall of Fame someday. If he's not already, he could be. I don't know.
They keep skipping all them guys because of the steroid era.
Yeah.
And it gets confusing who made it and who didn't.
Absolutely.
He's in the Hall. I just looked it up. He's in the Baseball Hall of Fame.
I thought
right?
it was. Yeah.
When did he get in?
He got in 2016.
Wow. He's been in a while. And I tell you what, Piazza was one of the faces of 9/11 too. For how he became an ambassador for America, it seemed like, in our own country. So yeah, I greatly revere that guy, but we'll get off of that because this is to talk about how, you can't do favorites. You can't do sweetheart buddy deals with a draft pick when you have a 7th round pick. Now, you could, when you have 55 draft picks and I've got a buddy in the organization, they could pick Connor Davis. They could pick my son. And he has no football ability whatsoever. He doesn't play. He talks smack, though, and that's what's great. So this is what he does. If he sees a Capital fan, he just says 5 is better than 1. If he sees a Ravens fan, 6 is better than 2. I'm like, all right, there you go. You're talking smack. That's good enough for me. You still get dinner. So, excuse me, gentlemen. I apologize for that. So we have our Isaac Redman Awards. Tony, this is something we've talked about a lot on plenty of different shows. We haven't done this here. What is a storyline that you expect to emerge out of training camp, whether it be tomorrow, whether it be in the middle of August?
This one's easy for me. It's going to be how George Pickens is blowing everybody away with his speed, his making fools out of the cornerbacks, things like that. I think you're going to hear a lot about him this training camp. It just seems like he's somebody, from what everybody has been saying about him, if it wasn't for the knee injury, he would have been a 1st-round pick, maybe the first receiver taken in this year's draft. And it just seems like as long as if that knee is healthy, and he fought his way back last year to get to help them win the championship, Georgia. Then I think he's going to be the big story of camp.
Shannon, do you think George Pickens could be a rookie of the year in this league?
In this offense, I don't think so. I think he could be the Steelers rookie of the year, but not the NFL rookie of the year. I think that there's so much talent now, and based on what the offense looks like, the makeup of the offense is going to be. I don't think any of the receivers is going to put up monster individual numbers because I think that their ball is going to be spread around and they can be more impactful, but it might not show up, statistically. But Tony, that's a great point because receivers, as we know, are always camp darlings. I remember James Washington. I've got an article getting ready to post about this subject, the whispers of training camp. And you was hearing bits and pieces, information coming out. James Washington making all these highlight reel catches, contested catches. But then, we was all buying into it. I was. And so one of our BTSC community members was cautioning us and saying, well, I'm hearing that he's making all these contested catches because he can't gain separation. And that's the only way he can come down with the ball. I didn't think anything of it, but he was right. 4 years later, Washington's still trying to prove he can gain separation. And this year he'll be doing it for the Dallas Cowboys. So I know the quarterback's going to be a huge subject this year. That's what we're going to hear about every day, coming out of camp, and because it's so important. But one underrated guy that I want to mention for the offense is Chris Owens, who they list as a center, but he played all the offensive line positions for Alabama, and we know they're a football factory. And if you can play for Alabama, you're good, especially in that SEC. So I think that he's going to surprise some people because he says the culture in Pittsburgh is very similar to the culture he came from in Alabama. And I think he's going to be very well coached, coming in and very professional. And he could surprise some people as the next, let's say, Ramon Foster, undrafted free agent that he was undrafted because of his limited athleticism, but he does everything else so well that he can play.
All right, the CUDA 70. I'm going to answer your question in a moment, so I will take care of that for you. So let me go ahead and say this. I think that George Pickens Jr. is going to be more of a Juju Smith-Schuster than he is a Lima Swede. I don't expect him. I mean, he could be a Plexico Burress. And if he's a Plexico Burress, that is because there's a lot of people around him. And he's easing into his rookie year. If he's a Plexico Burress in his rookie year, that's fine. I don't want anybody to have major expectations on a rookie coming in. And understand that if you get even 500-600 yards out of him, then you've got a good season. So that's what I'm thinking is about Mr. GPJ, George Pickens Jr. Shannon, what is the storyline you think will emerge by the end of camp?
I think that the storyline will be, like I said, a guy like a Christian Owens, Chris Owens coming out of nowhere to, not win a spot. A guy like Cody White, maybe taking a spot away from a Miles Boykin or a Anthony Miller, somebody that's, perceived to be ahead of them right now on the depth chart. So the Steelers always have a surprise or two. Like nobody going into camp last year thought, Jameer Jones was going to make the roster, especially over Quincy Roche. So those are the storylines I'm looking for.
I'm going to address Brian Brown real quick. James Washington is a solid receiver, which I agree. Had the best hands out of all of them. I thought he had great hands. Oklahoma State players really get the short end of it from the Steelers, don't they? And he's got a emoji. Look, I don't think he gelled with Ben. And when he had opportunities with Mason, I don't think everybody thought he was going to be great with Mason, and it didn't happen. He had some shining moments. So I don't think the James Washington experience was bad here. It just depends on where you put your expectations. Now, I'm going to just throw out two Oklahoma State players that I thought were great for the Steelers. One is a guy that has the same exact birthday, I'm talking year, as my dad. It's John Kolb. Man, Steelers don't win 4 Super Bowls without John Kolb protecting Terry Bradshaw. I'm just going to say that right now. That's an Oklahoma Stater. Another Oklahoma Stater. That was a third rounder from Oklahoma State in 1969. Another second rounder. Was he a second rounder or a third rounder? I'm not sure. Jason Gilden.
Yes. I knew you were going to say that. I was hoping you would say that.
Jason Gilden was an Oklahoma Stater too. So maybe recent Oklahoma Staters have not worked out for this team, but
But there's no conspiracy. I mean, I don't think Mike Tomlin's going, this guy can really help us, but he went to Oklahoma State, who I hate for some reason. So I'm just going to I'm going to bury them.
I don't think Brian's saying that.
But I'll fully admit when I'm wrong. And it happens all the time. And I'll admit it in article form, in the discussion thread, or on podcast. James Washington is now in Dallas with the Cowboys with Dak Prescott, so he don't have old Ben throwing to him anymore. So he should be great then. They'll have CeCe Lamb, and then they'll have James Washington as number 2, and he should be everything that everybody keeps saying he should be. I like James Washington as a person, and I thought he was a solid little player, but he cannot gain separation. And when he does, and he turns out to be better, then I'll fully admit I was wrong. But until then, I don't believe it.
Yeah, but do you keep him this year? Even if he ends up a Pro Bowler, you can't. Hindsight's 2020. You can't keep him based on.
And it was probably a mutual thing. I mean, he was ready. If the rumors were true last year, he was ready to move on for a different opportunity last year because he felt like he wasn't getting a chance here because he felt like he was buried on the depth chart. So it was probably a mutual thing. And like Shannon said, I mean, his reputation coming out of college, he combat catches, but he was also a deep threat in college, and you never really saw that here. Yeah, he never really got the separation, and for a guy that size, he definitely had to have better separation in order to be a good receiver at the NFL level.
He's 4'5" something.
Yeah.
See, not too many deep threats are 4'5" to 4'6".
Jalen Warren might surprise some this training camp coming from Oklahoma State. That's from Kenny D. That's right. Hey, I love a good surprise. Yeah, I think. And Brian did say it was just a thought. I'm a Virginia Tech fan. I mean, there's some guys that you think that are great from certain colleges, and then there's stretches. That stretch from Colorado, that Colorado stretch back in from 1992 to 1995.
Yeah,
there was a lot of guys from Colorado. One we're going to talk about in just a few moments. So, I mean, those are great storylines. I'm glad that you brought those up. The storyline that I think is going to come out of training camp for me is I'm picking an easy one here. I'm thinking that it's the fact that Mitch starts, Mason's number 2, and Kenny's number 3 by design, but that doesn't happen the whole year. I actually think that's decided unless there's a surprise, but it doesn't mean you wasted. When that happens, we can't have the discussion. Oh, you wasted a 20th pick. No, it's just by design. With that being said, real quick, Ben Roethlisberger came out the past couple days, and I've made this joke for the past couple years. Ben Roethlisberger is going to be like your college roommate sitting on your couch, using up your Netflix password, sitting in a bathrobe and eating cereal out of a salad bowl until you ask him to leave. And I have said that so many times before. And it's not because there's some people that look, I'm going to be here in podcast until Jeff and Dave say, Brian, you're done. It's time to go. That's it. Your time's over here. And I get it. Troy Polamalu was asked to leave. Or was just not asked to leave. Just it was Troy, we're going in a different direction. We have to get younger and faster at that position. Hines Ward, same thing. The great thing about it is they knew not to go to another team. They said, okay, yeah, they respected it. They were done. Ben did the same thing. Were there offers out there? I don't know. There might have been none. Or there could have been offers out there that they just turned down. There was that Hines Ward could go into Baltimore at the time. So, I understand Ben saying that Mr. Rooney, they would have gotten rid of him before the 2021 season, but Mr. Rooney wanted him to stay, wanted to keep him on. And Colbert and Tomlin were kind of done with him. Look, there could be some sour grapes there. I get it. But we need Ben as an ambassador for the Pittsburgh Steelers now is what we need him. And I really, you had an amazing 18-year career. I mean, please don't throw those comments out there. Let's be a cohesive unit. That's all I'm saying. Tony?
Like I said on Friday on the six pack, it didn't surprise me. I mean, a lot of these guys feel this way when as soon as they retire. I mean, you know, right after they retire, you know, training camp's rolling around, you're getting that itch, and you feel like you could still play. You feel like, all right, you know, I've had 6 months off. He hasn't had to work out probably, you know, like he normally would for a regular season to prepare. So he probably feels really good. His arm probably feels pretty good. He's probably out there throwing the ball around with his sons now. They're getting up there. They're getting old enough you can do that. So he probably feels pretty good. And, you know, a lot of them say that. I think I could play another year. I felt like I was pushed out. It wasn't a unanimous decision to see me go. Some people wanted me to stay. Some people wanted me to go. It's typical, but I think he'll come around and he'll accept it eventually, and he'll be okay. And these are common things. It's nothing to get all, you know, to worry about. I remember when Jerry Rice accepted his induction into the Hall of Fame. He gave his speech. I think he thought right then and there he could still play. This is like he was like 48 years old. So I think a lot of guys just have trouble letting go, but that's especially the case 6 months after they retire.
Great point, Shannon. Jeffrey Benedict says this, Shannon. Whatever they wanted, they had to keep him because of the cap situation. He did them a huge favor coming back cap-wise. So to me, they kept him by design to help the team, even though they thought he was past his prime. What are your thoughts, Shannon?
No, I agree totally with Jeffrey. I thought it was a no subject. Didn't even need to be wrote about. You know, again, I'm a huge Big Ben fan. I've been honest about his early years, and I've, you know, have supported him in the latter years, and I still will. You know, there's people that ask him questions and they want answers. Some people still want to hear from him. Some people don't. No matter what you say, some people's going to like it and some people ain't. It's impossible to please 100% of the people 100% of the time. And I didn't find any controversy in anything he said. I think that Kevin Colbert and Mike Tomlin loved Ben and thought the world of him. They were honest about his limited ability last year. I think that he was honest about his limitations going in to 2021. And, you know, they didn't sugarcoat it. They didn't lie. One of the things that Ben gets in trouble for is being too honest. And he'll share his opinion. And a lot of people, especially the people who don't like him going in, ain't going to like anything he says. But I don't think that saying that Colbert would have moved on and Tomlin would have moved on is a big deal. I think they would have if it wasn't for the salary cap situation. And the best opportunity they had to field a competitive team was to bring Ben back. He got to have his farewell tour. They still was able to miraculously, I do not know how, make the playoffs. So I think everything worked out fine. And he's not said anything about wanting to come back. He just says that his arm feels like he can still throw and still play, which I think he could. His legs are shot. It's not his arm that's shot. And I wrote an article about it recently. It's his legs that were shot. And you have to have your legs for your throwing motion. So I thought it was a big deal, you know, over nothing. And, you know, anybody that still wants to see him can go to PNC Park Saturday, and he'll be throwing out the first pitch at the Yinzer Palooza or whatever it's called. So I guess some people still want to see him, even if it is a small crowd at PNC.
All right, great. Guys, we're going to get ready to wrap it up. But before we wrap it up, I'd like to give my final thoughts. And just in just because of time, we're only at about 60 seconds. I'm just going to go ahead and speak for all of us, if you don't mind. Charles Johnson passed away last week. And Charles Johnson, on the stat sheet, is not an amazing Steeler. But if you don't know who Charles Johnson is and what he did in his time with the Steelers, it was pretty amazing. He did some very good things. And one of the things that he didn't do was play in Super Bowl 30 because he went on the injured reserve right before the playoffs in 1995. If Charles Johnson was on that team on January 30th of 1996, or was it January 27th? It was right around then. If he was on that team, you wouldn't have had Corey Holiday in there running the wrong route. You might not have hatred for Neil O'Donnell. That could have been so much different. Just like I talk all the time about Ernie Mills, if he doesn't get hurt, it could have been a different situation. Charles Johnson in 1996, he was a first rounder in 1994. In 1996, he had over 1,000 yards for the Steelers. He did win a Super Bowl as a part of the New England Patriots. I don't think he was very active with that team that year in the Super Bowl, but he does have a ring. We lost a fantastic college football player, and we lost a member of the Steelers family. So I would like to say rest in peace to number 81, Charles Johnson. God bless you. With that being said, gentlemen, we are going to get on out. I'd like you to all be safe. I'd like you to be true to yourself and always stay behind the steel curtain. And just when you think you got all the answers, Tony,
we keep changing the questions.
Shannon White, take us home, my friend.
Woo!
All right, for Tony Defeo, for Shannon White, my name is Bryan Anthony Davis.